You're watching the Scottish Football Zone with all the build-up and reactions.
Hello, very good evening to you, and welcome to the Scottish Football Zone. Another big week ahead of us, European football, and that means a busy show with the top team tonight, joined by Ethan and Regan. All right, guys?
All
Yeah,
right,
good.
Michael. Only me would join the wrong bloody stream. I joined the late, the
Yeah.
other one, and I'm thinking,
Well,
everybody's not here.
we'll just call you Mystic Meg, mate. It's okay, you know. And you know, so we are here for the Rangers. The Poznan game, kickoff actually. And you will get all the build up and all the team news here as it comes out about half six tonight.
Yeah.
And stuff. We'll get your comments coming in as well. You can post a comment on our new Twitter feed and also on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and my ex as well. I can't say my ex in the house because my missus will get a bit annoyed at me, big tough. So I pay the bills. It's my say so. Do you guys say that live? Yes. Okay. Okay. Let's get back into let's before I get into more trouble.
I find out about you sleeping on the sofa tonight, Michael.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's move on from that one. Yeah. I didn't want to paint that picture on a Tuesday night. So we're here to preview the big game tonight. Rangers, Poznan, Ibrox as well. Reagan, let's go back to Saturday night then. Rangers kick off against Motherwell, 1 each, and Russell Martin basically slated his players after the game. I don't know if you saw the press conference yesterday, but the whole entire 15 minutes of the press conference wasn't about this game. Actually, it was about his comments after the game on Saturday. But I'm not very surprised about it. So, Reagan, before we dive into his comments that he made yesterday, what do you think?
I've not been impressed with Russell Martin so far. I said that on Sunday. Make sure you check it out. Scottish Football Zone's first ever show. It's great to be on me, and great to be on with Rob as well. So I think in general I've not been impressed with Russell Martin so far, Michael. I think he's been a very underwhelming person to look at and to judge so far. I think in terms of what he's done brilliant to get past Panathinaikos with Rangers. But as I said on Sunday, to the many people that were watching on Sunday, I said that I just felt like Motherwell should have won that game on Saturday night and they fully deserved to win. I felt like Rangers were too passive, not aggressive enough. They were too open. They were playing the ball as if they were playing down a local park. As if they were playing the ball very slow. I do think the one advantage for Russell Martin is he's got a clear idea of what he wants to do, but I think that'll need to be very fine tuned because Motherwell are by far and away probably one of the I don't want to be too unkind to Motherwell, but there's some good teams in this league, and I wouldn't say Motherwell for me are going to be in top six. If you look at Hearts last night, you look at Aberdeen, you look at Hibs. If that's what Motherwell can do to Rangers, then I dread to think what a full fire Derek McInnes a Hearts team would do in a full firing Brendan Rodgers Celtics.
Yeah, I would agree.
Grim makes a comment there about, he said, by Russell Martin at the weekend. Do you think that was good management going into tonight's game or not? And I think we spoke about that at the end of the show last night because I was listening to Mark O'Neill and he was saying about it's not kind of good man management could come out after kind of like a big game like that, and also that there's a big game tonight. Now the thing is as well, I'll dive into Russell Martin's comments yesterday as well, but to say that what he did on Saturday, to knowing that they've got a massive game tonight and a massive game next week in the second leg. If you were a player listening to his comments, how would you feel?
Yeah, you would feel, well, it depends, because I think it's a case of the players that he's talking about will know that he's talking about them, and the players that don't think they're being talked about will be the ones that are putting the work in, and he's not talking about them. But we'll see what he does tonight with the lineup. It'll be really interesting because surely if there's players there that he's saying need to drop their ego and that are reverting back to type was another phrase he used, then surely he's not going to be happy with those players and he's going to switch them out. We don't know what players he was referring to directly, but you would only imagine it was players that were there that he didn't sign, and then he referred to bids, and that Cyril Dessers was the only player to receive a bid, yet he was impressed with Cyril Dessers. Although he could be talking about Mohamed Diamande and Nikola Raskin, because obviously there's been rumours that they've had interest across Europe, so he could be talking about they two. Obviously, they both got subbed off, but you really don't know. James Tavernier and Kieran Dowell were poor for the Motherwell goal as well, so it could be them, and it'll be really interesting to see what Rangers team lines up tonight, because I really can't see it being the same starting 11 that started at Fir Park on Saturday night. I don't know if you guys have seen, but there's been a sort of leaked Rangers lineup going about X, and you've always got to take a pinch of salt with these things. But I'll read it out because it's entertaining viewing, and that I might read this team out and it might be nowhere near to what we see it in 20 minutes or so. In goals, Jack Butland. Back four, Jeffy's in for his first competitive start of the season. The centre backs is the same, still Suter and De Giga. Max Aaron's in at right back, so no James Tavernier. Midfield three, Rothwell and Diamande in there. Lyle Cameron in for Nikola Raskin. And then the front three, Gassama, the new signing, Ant-Man in for Kieran Dowell, and Dessers up front in for Danilo. So that would be a very interesting lineup to take out arguably Rangers' best player last season and their captain. But obviously you've got to take a pinch of salt with things like this.
I'm going to put my media hat on here. I think if you're getting leaks in the dressing room or potential around the club after one match, that can be a bad sign.
Yeah, that can be a bad. Yeah, definitely.
Because if somebody from Twitter is managing to find the lineup or source the lineup from someone within Ibrox or someone connected to the club at the training ground or maybe a media person, then it's not a good look for Russell Martin. The fact that that these sort of things are being leaked only in his second match taking Rangers, because you'd be hoping that these are things that that are not for anyone that's not in the walls of the Rangers training ground.
Yeah, definitely, and I would agree with that. That it comes at a time where he's had a go at the players. People are saying he's threw the players under the bus, and the possibly as a byproduct of that, a reaction of that, is that somebody at the club has possibly leaked the lineup or leaked some of the players that are starting, because I think it happened before with Celtic quite recently. Brendan Rodgers came out and said as much. It's obviously not something you like, and it's something difficult to get rid of.
Yeah,
but obviously we'll have to see. It could just
but
be
I
something
think-
talking nonsense online. So
I think that the difference for me in terms of the Brendan Rodgers to the Russell Martin thing is that Brendan Rodgers has been there for a while, and that maybe there could be a more educated thing. But I think if so- if Rangers have just brought this new manager in, and there's already been leaks after 1 week in the job, I don't think that's a very good look.
Yeah,
But
no.
I mean, guys, do you not feel that this smells a bit like Neil Lennon in the COVID season? Remember in fact, it was after one of the European games, and he came out and slated his team as well. So this kind of like seems not similar, but a bit like the same, because Neil Lennon basically flung the team under a bus after that one, and then after that, well, we knew what happened then as well. To answer Reagan's point about Brendan Rodgers, I would maybe, I don't know if you would agree, Ethan, but I would maybe say that Brendan Rodgers has got, 25 years of experience, maybe more in management. Russell Martin's only got like 2 years, like there's a big difference in management,
And I think as well as just to go back on that, I mean, he's only been there a few weeks, so who knows if he's really built a good a relationship. Maybe it's a case of now he's releasing the team too early, or maybe there's too many contacts. Because I heard them talk after his first match, and I think it was the young man Finlay. So
Finlay
if
Found
you,
Cutters.
the cut, yeah.
yeah, if you listen to Finlay, he spoke to the TV and he said, "I found it on the Tuesday morning, and the match was on the Wednesday." So, and then he also said that he struggled to sleep on the Tuesday night because he was starting 24 hours later. So I just don't know if maybe after the evaluation, maybe Russell Martin might try and change when he lets people know the starting lineup of the squad, because if it's going to get out after every match, then that's something you don't want as a club, because the better opposition you play, then they're going to know the lineup as well, because like Ethan just said, news can spread very fast.
Yeah, of course, and the difference, obviously, you mentioned it between this and sort of what was happening at Celtic with the leaks, is that this comes right off the back of Russell Martin having a go at the mentality of the club. He had a go at, and over past seasons domestically, it's been a problem that he wants to obviously eradicate, and he thinks that that was the right thing to do. It was a very interesting approach, and it could be the right one. It could play out tonight. Rangers turn up, he makes loads of changes, and they absolutely destroy Viktoria Plzeň. But it could obviously, he falls flat on his face when he plays the same players, or he switches up and it just goes all wrong tonight. So I think it's only one that you'll know the outcome of it once we've seen the Rangers performance tonight and the Rangers start 11. Graham mentions Lyle Cameron. Yeah, he obviously did do the media, and he's frustrating some Dundee fans for some of his comments I've seen. So yeah, that could be an indication that he's starting. But I think for anyone,
I do think what he said was right, like the small pressure at Dundee. Because the pressure you go from Dundee to Rangers is massive. I know the Dundee fans will be disappointed to hear that. But I mean, even Stephen Presley said that if you want to win trophies, don't support Dundee, because he's not going to win trophies.
Yeah, I think something he said that was annoying the Dundee fans was something like he's a full-time footballer now or something. I'm sure he didn't mean to disrespect Dundee, but it kind of came across the way that Dundee's a part-time club. Obviously they're not, but yeah, he was one of the ones who was singled out for praise at the weekend, along with Cyril Dessers.
And I don't think he'd be disrespectful to Dundee either, because this is a guy that dedicated his life to Dundee, and also they provided opportunity for him to be in the first team and be a big part of that with so many good players and a very good manager in Tony Docherty. So I don't think he would be intentionally doing that. But I think if there's anybody that the Dundee fans should be questioning, it should be the manager.
So let's hear from Russell Martin. Yesterday he was speaking to the media, right? And I picked up a couple of quotes, like he says, "I will be honest with my players." Well, I think there's honest and too honest there. He says we have to create better habits, whatever that means. And also, this kind of, when managers say this kind of really annoys me, guys. It says, we've trained well this week. It will be a tough game and a powerful team. Now, if I can take this in two bits, right? If I go back to his first comment, I will be honest with my players. Yeah, supporters get that, be honest with the players, but I mean, you don't have to come out after your first league game and slate the players after a 1-each draw. I mean, there's another, 35 games in the season, you know what I mean? So keep that inside the dressing room. Also, he said that we've played well this week. I mean, how many times have I heard that quote over the years by different managers? Ethan and Reagan, I know that you're big football men, and you go to see the other team from the other side of Glasgow. Now, if Brendan Rodgers came out and said that quote, I would guarantee you that you would not be interested in it. All you would be interested in if they turn up on a Saturday and win the game. That's all. That you're not interested if they have 5 penalties at training against Smyko or whatever. Do you get what I mean? It's like, it's just to fill space in papers. I think he was saying the quotes. Maybe I'm just too harsh again, but I don't know.
I think you're being harsh, Michael, but also I feel like there's a bit of truth in there, because I remember a couple of years ago, Michael, when Rangers went and they beat Real Madrid in pre-season, and then the following week they go to Rugby Park and get beat 1-0. So 1 week they're beating Real Madrid 2-1, thinking they're brilliant. Oh, everything's going to be great, and then the next week they're losing at Rugby Park. I mean, nobody hands out trophies in pre-season. So, and I think your point about the training, I mean, I would say it's slightly hard, Michael, because every manager is going to say every manager in the world is going to say that training was brilliant. I mean, they're never going to come out and say everybody's training was rubbish this week. They were so bad. But I think
the point I was trying to make was, like, supporters are not, well, I'll ask you and yourself, supporters are not interested in if players did well in training this week. All they're interested in, if they turn up on a Saturday and play well, get 3 points, look forward to the next game.
Yeah, but I would agree with that, but from Russell Martin's point of view, he's probably trying to say, if you train well during the week, then that'll translate to the game. That's what he's probably saying.
I think it's just cliche, isn't it? That a manager will say, "Yeah, we trained well this week." I think it doesn't really matter. The fans don't take much to it. I don't imagine the media take much to it. It's just kind of something that he'll say, and he'll think that it's going to maybe think, the fans will think, we've trained well this week. I'm confident now. Obviously, that's not how it works, but He needs to sort of. He's probably trying to take a little bit of heat off the players because obviously he's put them in the firing line with his comments after the match at Fir Park, and now maybe he's trying to do not a complete U-turn on it, because we'll see if he's done a U-turn on it based on his lineup. But I would be so surprised if Kieran Dowell starts tonight. I think they've got Oliver Antman in from Go Ahead Eagles, the Finnish international, who's a winger. They managed to register him in time, so I would imagine he goes in. I just can't see a world where Kieran Dowell starts, and it'd be really interesting to see if James Tavernier's dropped as well, and if Raskin or Diamandi's dropped. It's just really interesting to see what he's going to do with the team, because it's a massive team.
I'm just surprised that Michael's not throwing that joke yet. Is he finished? How's he?
I've not started yet, to be honest. Yeah. But I mean, like, if we come on here at 10 o'clock, guys, right, and Rangers won the game, say 2-0, right, and they were outstanding tonight, right, then Rangers fans will be saying, aye, that's okay, but can you go and beat Dundee on Saturday at Ibrox? You know, and it's back to that kind of one. And if they go away next week and kill the cat, tie and win the game, but drop points at Dundee the weekend, and drop points. I'm not sure who they've got after Dundee. I know it's away. From home anyway.
It's the cup next.
It's the cup, yeah.
Against
Arrow,
so
yeah.
You would expect to win that, and then I think after that, I'm not sure.
Yeah, and then obviously you've got Celtic coming up, Ibrox in a few weeks as well. So I don't really want to see. I don't really want to put words in supporters' mouths, even about as supporters go to say, well, as a team short changing us, they come up for European games, but they don't come up against like Dundee and the likes of it and the leagues like Motherwell.
Yeah, that has been sort of. I think that's been the theory that a lot of Scottish football fans have went with for Rangers for years now. They seem to get up for the big games, think of that Europa League final run, and just doing well in Europa League in general usually. And last year especially, they ran Celtic close in almost all of the derby games and won a good share of them. Obviously so close to winning the League Cup as well against Celtic in the final. But it was just the games in isolation that they should be winning. There's expectation. They just drop their levels. They are complacent, and that just can't be afforded at Rangers. And it can't be afforded if you want to have success domestically, because Celtic will not be that complacent. And you've seen that obviously across the piece. But yeah, Dundee at the weekend following tonight will be a massive test, because with Rangers it's almost as if the European is like a completely different sport to the domestic football, because the European football they seem to deal with no problem, but when it comes to winning games that they'll be expected to win at the weekend.
I mean, this is nothing new. Even like we saw this movie against. We've seen this movie with Philip come on and Van Bronckhorst as well. So like, it's kind of, I know what you're saying, but like that's missing you. Like they can't really get up for. Maybe the dressing rooms are smaller when they go away to Ross County and teams like that. But like. The professional football players, they're well paid, and if they can't get up for a game in the public park, a very important game, what chance have we got?
Yeah, exactly that. And it'll be really interesting, because tonight isn't, no disrespect to any of the teams in the Scottish Premiership, but it's not a home match against, for example, a Dundee, where makes a big statement and a big deal out of the dropping of points at Fir Park, and then he takes a few key players out. against Dundee, that's a lot less of a statement than against Viktoria Plzeň in a Champions League qualifying game. So we'll see how much he really means with his words and what players are he was referring to and what players aren't given their all for Rangers Football Club, and possibly what players he's trying to move on, because I think Rangers have still got a massive squad there, and a lot of the players are not going to be part of his plans and will not have a future at the club. I'm just reading a few of Lightning Tree's comments that I would agree. I thought Tony Docherty was he done a decent job at Dundee. I know they were close down the bottom last season, but I think the sacking of him was really, really strange, and the timing of it as well. The Stephen Presley appointment even more unusual. And yeah, I'd agree. I think you've got to play Raskin tonight, and you're one of the biggest games of the season. I think he proved last season he was one of the best players, if not the best Rangers player last season. So if he is taken out, then that would be really interesting. But we'll see in very short time, because the Rangers lineup should be out in the next minute, possibly.
The viewers will going back to Russell Martin's comments on Saturday. Another point Martin and Neil kind of made as well was, do you think he went too early with these comments? I mean, if he was on the job for maybe say 25 games, 30, he could come out and say it, but not for the first league game, and I think that was a bit of OTT, and I bet you it was a PR disaster for Rangers, but I'll tell you what, it's making a lot of headlines.
Yeah, definitely, and it is really strange, because you think of managers calling out players. It's big managers that have been at usually when it works successfully, it's managers that have been at clubs for a while. They've sort of earned their stripes. They've earned massive respect from the fans, and I don't think Russell Martin's at that stage yet. He's 3 competitive matches into his Rangers tenure. He's went very early on it. It could work out. Rangers could be brilliant for the rest of the season after that row, but he could lose the dressing room, or he could lose players in the dressing room. But he's possibly of the thinking that I'm going to be backed by the owners here. I have been backed so far. I'll get a lot more players in. If these players don't want to rise to the challenge that I'm presenting them, then they can go, and we'll get replacements in. So yeah, we'll see how it works out. But tonight, or after tonight's 90 minutes, we'll have a lot better idea of how his words to the media have panned out for that Rangers team. There
you go. We've spent half an hour on the show, and it's amazing that we've not spoke about the game once. It's always the comments on Saturday, and I've really kind of made it out there, including us, as kind of like speaking about it as well. But yeah, I mean, I think you're right. I think the proof will be in the pudding at 10:15 tonight, and when we come on at 10 o'clock and we speak about the game.
Yeah, I would completely agree. And the Rangers team, I can't see it yet, which is just strange. I thought it would have been out, because we're an hour and 15 before kickoff now, but I'm sure it isn't too far away. But yeah, as you said, the proof will be in the pudding when it comes to Russell Martin's comments and the effect it will have on the Rangers dressing room.
Yeah, no, I mean, I can either give them, we're going to say confidence, but I can maybe see why he's done it, as in, like, if I say this in the media, and it's always going to be in the media and from Saturday and Tuesday, but obviously I know the Scottish media and say that this will continue until the weekend, but before they play Dundee as well, that this might G up some of the players, and some of the players might say, right, okay, I'm going to give my all, because I never gave my all on Saturday as well. Well, that could do the opposite thing. Quarter to 8, we'll find out.
Yeah, exactly that. It is. It's just so interesting. I think that's why we've spoke about it for half an hour, because it's a massive talking point when a manager comes out and condemns players any point of their tenure, but when they're 3 matches in the first league game of a season, then it is really interesting, especially when you've got a massive Champions League qualifier. Rangers, Russell Martin has questioned the mentality of his players, but I think he'll know fine well that his system and his style of play hasn't worked too well in either of the 3 games so far. Against Motherwell, they were second best. In Athens, they were second best and lucky to get a draw. And at home, especially in the first half, they were poor at Ibrox against Panathinaikos. And yes, they got those 2 goals, the 2 moments of magic from the wingers, Finlay Cutterson, Dejede Gassama, but that was against the 10 men. So, yeah, this Rangers have to put in their best performance of the night, of the season so far tonight if they want to take a lead over to Plzeň, you would imagine.
Yeah, no, I don't know a great deal about this team, and I suppose like it's funny, like, because obviously, and they must have a good team because they're in the Champions League. You've got to show the old mentality, respect to your kind of like opposition as well. But it's a dangerous one because like we don't know like too much about them, and they might be a brilliant team. Like Russell Martin said yesterday that they're big and powerful team. So that it seems to me as though that they've been watching them for the past week.
Yeah, it does sound like that, and I think Russell Martin's the type of manager that'll take deep. He'll analyse the opposition deeply, and he'll know where Viktoria Plzeň are. He'll know where their strengths lie, where their weaknesses lie, and it's really interesting that they haven't played actually since their Champions League game last week, where they beat Servette 3-1 in Switzerland, 2 red cards. So yeah, it's interesting because I think their league game actually got postponed at the weekend. They were meant to play, and then they didn't. I don't know if that's deliberate from the league to give them the best chance tonight. But they're 2 games into the season, 1 win, 1 draw. So we don't know a lot, as you said. We'll have to see. I think they've made 3 changes from last week's team. One of them obviously forced by that red card that they got last week, and the red card was to Adrian Zelkovic. I think the main man is Pavel Sulch, or he was the main man, but he's just been sold to Lyon in France, so that'll be a big blow for them. So that'll give Rangers hope that their sort of main talisman's just been sold. But yeah, I think Rangers are still favourites across the 2 ties. But if they play like they have done in the first 3 games of the season, then it'll only give the Czechs confidence.
Now, we of course Rangers signed a loan deal for Tottenham, Mikey Moore. He's only 17, and I think it would be a bit. It's a big game to score him in, but you never know. Stranger things could happen. But
I don't think he's in the. I don't think he made the squad because I think they had to have them registered before last night at 11 p.m. and they managed to get Ant-Man in, but Mikey Moore didn't make it. I'm not too sure why, because he was signed obviously before Ant-Man, but yeah, that is a strange one. But he is a really exciting player because he's only 17. But you don't want to be relying on them too much at that age.
Yeah. Oh no, it says here that from Tottenham will receive international clearance in time to be part of the squad. So he must have got kind of like international clearance as well. I was going to ask you about that, but also I was going to ask you about a man will miss out the game due to fitness issues. how big a blow would that be for Rangers?
Yeah, I think they haven't been able to use Hamza Agaman really effectively at all this season, and obviously the fees they were looking to get from him, for him, are going to take a hit. That he's not really got up to speed for the season. I know he's got a few knocks and whatever, but yeah, he's not even in the squad tonight. And I've actually got the lineup. And funnily enough, believe it or not, the so-called leaked lineup was bang on. 11 players for 11 players. So the captain, James Tavernier, is dropped from right back. I'll just run through the team. So Jack Butland starts and goals again. The same two central defenders, Nasser Dejiga and tonight's captain, John Suter. Jeff Day makes his first start of the competitive season at left back, and Max Aarons moves to his more natural role at right back as Tavernier drops to the bench. In midfield, it's Joe Rothwell and Mohamed Diamande again. But the big news in midfield, Nicholas Raskin drops to the bench as Lyle Cameron starts ahead of him. That is a crazy thing that I don't think a lot of Rangers fans would have thought even a week ago. So yeah, just crazy. And then the front three, Oliver Antman makes his Rangers debut despite signing yesterday, I believe, and Deshedi Gisama keeps his place, and Cyril Dessers leads the line in place of Danilo. So that's really interesting, and I think I didn't believe that the league team was going to be spot on, but the fact that it's spot on 11-11 is really concerning, as Reagan said. If you're getting leaks this early in Russell Martin's short tenure as Rangers manager.
I don't know about you guys, but I would love to be a fly in the wall at that press conference after the game, because if you think that the press conference yesterday was bad, that the press conference after the game might be worse if Rangers get beat, because then the wee mole will be coming out and they'll say, well, who is the mole in the Rangers camp, Reagan?
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, it's big time. To get 11 out of 11 spot on, it's a little bit, what I would say for the long term, it's a little bit, I would say Russell Martin will be trying to investigate that, to be honest with you. About who he can trust or who he can tell things to. Because for that to be spot on, that's not yes work or whatever. Someone's leaked it.
Yeah, and it's not as if you hear about these team leaks, and it's not, and it's usually like team leaks a few people outside the club know and whatever. Maybe journalists or sectors of the media have an incline, but this was something that if you look up on X, you can see it quite clearly. Anyone can go and access it if they want to, and it's really concerning. I've got to say, and it's really surprising. And you would imagine that Russell Martin is going to have something to say about it, regardless of how Rangers got on tonight. But yeah, really interesting lineup, and obviously he's doubled down on his words from Saturday. I think you can probably work out who he was talking about now. James Tavernier, Kieran Dowell, Nicholas Raskin, Danilo. So they're all dropped out, and yeah, it'll be really interesting to see if the players that have come in grab that chance with two hands. Lyle Cameron, especially, a big moment for him. Because I don't think, as I said, many people would have had Lyle Cameron starting a Champions League qualifier and Nicholas Raskin on the bench.
Yeah, it's a big move, and I'm sure the dog will agree. I mean, it's a big move. I mean, I think the dog's backing along there. I think that is Pedro. Is that Pedro Caixinha? Is he talking about the dog? The dog.
With his caravan?
Yeah, Pedro Caixinha with the caravan. But yeah, in terms of the lineup, I think it's still a good lineup. I'm glad Pedro Caixinha's stopped the dogs in the caravan. But Yeah, I mean, I think overall, I think it's still a good lineup that can get through. But it'll be interesting to see if Rangers can send the send the checks to to the checkout, and they can get through to the next round because um, as much as Victoria Pilsen are not the most glamorous of names, they do usually do quite well in Europe, even.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we were talking about. That I think Rangers in Europe and Rangers domestically, it's like they're playing a different sport completely. So much success in European competition as of late, but just little to no success domestically, no consistency, and that's a concern. Obviously, we'll see them in Europe tonight. Obviously, if Russell Martin's lost the dressing room already, then there'll be no sort of there'll be no performance tonight that would give you confidence to go through across two legs. But no, I think that Rangers team's a good one. It's a fresh one, and there's lots of players in there that have got to sort of earn their place at the club, and they've got the starting jerseys at the moment, so it's theirs to lose, and I'm sure some of them will put in a performance worthy of keeping their place for maybe the weekend against Dundee or maybe next week in Czech Republic.
I think also, a person that's under pressure right away is the manager because it's not from me or from Michael or from Ethan. I think he's in trouble from his own support because they were pretty underwhelmed by his appointment. They wanted Carlo Ancelotti's son, or they wanted someone with a bigger pedigree. And to get no disrespect to Russell Martin, but if you look at the calibre of clubs, Southampton, MK Dons, it's not really the kind of calibre of manager that would get your appetite going. I mean, Scott McDermott from the Scottish media, he summed it up in a good way. He said, Steven Gerrard turned up, there was 10,000 people. Russell Martin turned up, there was 5 people at the front door.
But maybe to cut Russell Martin some slack, like it's not Russell Martin that he's got the job. You know what I mean. You must ask questions of the board, then Reagan.
Well, the board obviously know who they're appointing, but I just don't know about you guys. But I just feel like you look at the squad of players that they're bringing in at the moment. I'm not impressed by many of them. I'm impressed with Rodwell bits and pieces. I thought he did okay on Saturday night, but I wouldn't say I was overly impressed. Jaga, the centre back, I mean, I wouldn't. I've only seen him 2 or 3 times now, and I think the Panathinaikos game, he didn't really impress me. I think I'd rather somebody like maybe Leon Balogun or Connor Gloaton from a few years ago. So that tells you all you need to know. I think the one player that has really bailed Rangers at home the last couple of matches is the new guy from Sheffield Wednesday.
Gassama.
Yes.
Gassama.
Yeah, he's been very good. He scored a great goal last week against Panathinaikos, but I just feel like Rangers need more attacking options. Exactly like Celtic, I think Dessers is a good player, but the phrase that I always bring it back to is, do I see Dessers being a title-winning striker? And for me, it's a big no.
But I think that could be debated. But the fact that Dessers is the one that
well, see that by the same token, even I don't see Adam Reid being a title-winning striker either.
Yes, okay, that is fair enough, but
because for me, Kyogo was the one that was doing a lot of this scoring goals and stuff like that. I said this on Sunday. I feel like if Kyogo was playing on Sunday, Celtic would have won that game with 3 or 4 goals. But because of the way that Adamida plays, Adamida's not your kind of your typical footballer like technical and stuff like that. And I think Adamida's a more kind of back in the day, a kind of long ball merchant. You know, he's not like a Ollie McBurney. I mean, obviously he's better than Ollie McBurney, but he's a kind of Ollie McBurney kind of player where he just he's a kind of hold up kind of guy.
Yeah, I would agree. I think Des. I don't think Dessos is the problem at Rangers.
No, far from it, because like I said to you the other day, he scored 29 goals last year, so Dessers is far from the problem. But I think one of the big things for me, I want to get your guys' opinion on. See, if that was me being appointed the Rangers manager, if Rangers come out there and said to me, Regan, you've been appointed the Rangers manager, one of the first things that I would have done if we were going in there straight away is I would have put my foot down, right? And I would have said, I'm going to make a new captain. Now, I'm not being disrespectful to James Tavernier. I just think he's been involved in some right rubbish Rangers teams. He's been involved in some rubbish, right? So he should have been took out the firing line. He should have been put in it again. And then Russell Martin comes out after his very first game and says the mentality of this club is very poor. Now who? And he said it's been that way for years. So clearly, Russell, right? If I'm Russell Martin, okay, maybe he shouldn't do it after one game. But if that's something he's identified that the mentality's been very poor, who's been the one constant at the club? The one constant at the club has always been James Tavernier. Always. So I think Rangers needed a fresh person to be involved. That might have not been Nico Raskin. That could be someone else. What about Jack Butland? He seems up at the chair.
Yeah.
I just don't feel like James Tavernier is the kind of the player to take Rangers forward. He's not a captain. He never will be. No, and that's no disrespect to James Tavernier. He's a pretty okay footballer, but he's not got the qualities of a Barry Ferguson, of a Richard Gough, of a Alan McGregor. He's not got the winning mentality to drive people on. I didn't see any of that on Saturday night. I mean, okay, people can say Rangers look great in pre-season. Pre-season's pre-season, but the most important game at the start of the season was the game against Motherwell, and they failed miserably. I just want to pick up on, obviously, Michael, can you read through that team again for me? Or
I'll get it. So it's Jack Butland in goals, back four of Jeff Day, John Suter, Nasser Daziga, and Max Aarons. The midfield, Joe Rothwell, Mohamed Diamande, and Lyle Cameron. The front three, Deshedi Kasama, Oliver Antman making his Rangers debut, and Cyril Dessos up front.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the first thing that sticks out like a sore thumb for me is that Max Aarons is finally being playing in his right position. I think that's so important for him, because it's okay saying that, okay, he's playing left back and he's only playing in the Scottish League. It's still important that you play in your proper position. And I do actually feel sorry for him, because it's okay me saying that he didn't play well on Saturday, but then it's up to Russell Martin to play him in the place where he thinks is best for him. Also, I'm glad to see Dessers is brought back in, because I don't know about you guys, but I don't see Danilo doing very much this season. I think he'll score the odd goal, but I just don't think that overall it's a good thing for him to be a starting number 9 for Rangers. I do think they'll still be in the market for a few strikers because I think Igamani will go. I think Dessers might stay, but I just think overall that team still looks a little bit short for me.
Yeah, possibly. And I made this point at the weekend. I thought Rangers needed a few more bodies in, but the fact that he's come out and had to condemn the players for their pretty much their work ethic and drive to run for the team, and now he's rotated what is someone who's valued around £20 million plus out the team for a Champions League qualifier match. And maybe it's a sort of I imagine he's hoping that the players will turn around and go, okay, this guy's really, if we're not up to it, then this guy's actually going to drop us, because that's been the thing at Rangers. The managers haven't dropped Tavernier, the managers haven't dropped the best players, and that's been the problem. But James Tavernier underperforming at the weekend, he's out the team, and that you can only say that's brave management from Russell Martin. But he also runs the very fine line of losing that dressing room very, very early in his managerial stint.
But not only that, Ethan, right? But also if Rangers are looking at, say, maybe 2 or 3 new players at the moment, right? We don't know. Like, I don't know. I'm just making that number up, right? And if he hears Russell Martin saying that the weekend, would that not put you off going?
No, absolutely not.
I think it depends. It depends what kind of player you are and what your mentality of being at Rangers Football Club is. I think players like Lyle Cameron and Cyril Dessers, who he's singled out for praise, will see this as a brilliant opportunity to maybe sort of stake their claim at Rangers, because although Cyril Dessers was the top scorer in the Premiership last season, the jury's definitely still out on him, as Reagan mentioned, not just between ourselves, but between Rangers fans. And Lyle Cameron is not someone you would have expected to step in tonight, but he obviously has a massive opportunity to go and grab it with 2 hands and really nail down a starting place in that Rangers lineup. And then Oliver Antman, I think you probably expected him to come in for Kieran Dowell, because Kieran Dowell has just been so far off it in the first 3 games that it's unimaginable that he even has a future at Rangers, never mind starting tonight's game.
I think he'll have a future because Russell Martin said he's part of the leader group, but that tells its own story. He's part of the leader group. But to answer Michael's point about does it put people off, I don't think it'll put people off in terms of, because, Michael, the standard of Rangers playing European football, you look at a lot of the players that they're bringing in. They're bringing players from Sheffield Wednesday. I mean, if I'm at Sheffield Wednesday and I'm being offered the chance to play in a guaranteed Europa League run, that's something I want to explore. No matter if the manager's shouting and balling. I would actually see it as a positive that he's moaning, because I listened to Barry Ferguson say in his column the other day that maybe too many of the players can be too nice. And maybe it's something they actually need sometimes. Because if you look at the last manager, Philippe Clement, right? Philippe Clement, when we come out and go, okay, lads, it was okay, we did okay. It was the referee's fault. I mean, if they'd got that penalty, if they'd got that free kick, if this would have happened, if that would have happened. I'm just glad that a manager's been honest, Michael, to be honest with you, because that's what Rangers are well overdue. But I do think now what is required for him, I think he needs to make it a new captain, because he's questioned the mentality of the club over a longer period of time. He actually said in this kind of view, I watched a number of games and I noticed that the mentality issue. So for me, it just doesn't add up why he picked Tavernier as captain if he knows that Tavernier's running that dressing room?
I think that it's more of, I don't know if he sort of picked Tavernier as captain, but he definitely kept James Tavernier as the captain. But I understand your point. I do understand your point.
I think people would have respected him more, Michael, if he would have not done it, because
Yeah.
it's probably the easiest choice to make to go. Oh, Tavernier's my captain. He's been there and done it. But
That's actually a good point that you've made, Regan, right? Because I don't know if you would agree with this, but how many, I'm not sure offhand how many years Tavernier has been at Rangers, right? How many managers has came in? How many managers has come in, and he's still the captain?
He's been there for 10 years now, Michael.
Well, and how many managers has Rangers had in that time? I don't know off the top of my head, but my point is,
no, not quite 10, but
and
a good few, yeah.
Yeah, but the point is this: every manager has came in, hasn't made that decision. Every manager has been okay. I've got a captain sorted out. That's fine. And then the next manager comes out and says, "I've got a manager. I've got a captain. That's fine." No, he's not been challenged once. So what I'm kind of saying is the captain's not kind of like walking water, basically. You know what I mean? That the captain is
I know
obviously
what you mean in terms of. I know what
yeah,
you mean in terms of like he's never been properly challenged, and maybe
yeah, yeah,
maybe the actual other managers can take some responsibility as well, because
yeah.
what they've done is they've just made the easy option. What it looks like, they've just come in and went, right. Tavernier's the captain. He's been here the longest. That's it. They've not looked about, right. Who can I get to change it up? Because I don't know. Now, I'm not being disrespectful to Tavernier here. He's obviously been a great player. He's scored many goals. He's assisted many goals. But clearly, for everyone to see, he's not a captain.
No, yeah,
Yeah,
He's not.
and I think that's definitely a fair point to make, because when there's not been there's not been no other constant in that dressing room apart from James Tavernier, and maybe it's harsh to assume, but you've got to put two and two together. There's been a mentality problem from years now. There's still a mentality problem, and Russell Martin is clearly taking James Tavernier out of the team because he feels the right mentality to start this game or play for Rangers Football Club at right back. Then you've got to assume that that's been the problem the whole time, and it's just the managers haven't sort of been brave enough to take him out of the team. Obviously, Russell Martin has now, and we'll see how that works out, and we'll see if there's a new captain at Rangers in the weeks to come or the future. I mean, if Max Aarons plays how he's been playing at left back, then I don't think he'll keep Tavernier out of the team, but obviously that's not his natural position, so we'll have to see him tonight in his proper position for the first time and see if he's the way forward for Rangers.
But then I would ask you again, Ethan, right? Say Max Aarons plays really well. Does so what happens again on Saturday?
Well, that's up to obviously Russell Martin, because he might want to rotate the team against a pretty weak Dundee team, you would have to say, at the moment. So he could rotate Tavernier back in for that game and then play Max Aarons the following game and check. We'll obviously have to see.
Sorry, maybe I worded the question wrong, but I'm meaning, do you think that if Max plays well tonight, then it's his shot to lose, or do you think maybe he's just taking his frustration and his anger out on Saturday's performance?
Well, I think he'll play whoever's the best player, and he's took Tavernier out for a big game now. He's done the difficult bit. The difficult bit isn't keeping Tavernier out of the team. The difficult bit's taking James Tavernier out of the team. He's took Tavernier out of the team for the biggest game so far this season. So Tavernier's out of the team, and until Tavernier is such a point deserves to be the starting right back again, I think Max Aarons will hold that position down. Obviously, you get rotations throughout a season and players come in and contribute minutes. But if Celtic were to play Rangers, if Rangers were to play Celtic, at the weekend, then going off what Russell Martin's lined up tonight, you would imagine that Max Aarons would start that match and James Tavernier wouldn't.
Yeah, no. We saw. I think there's a lot of questions being asked for me and you and Eve Reagan. I think there might be any questions left over at 10 o'clock if Rangers get beat oiled of the win. We might have all the answers tonight. There you go. There you go. So a big thanks to Reagan and Ethan. We'll be back at 10 o'clock with the after show, 90 minutes of the Champions League qualifiers. Thanks to all your comments, and we'll see you at 10 o'clock.
You're watching the Scottish Football Zone with all the build-up and reactions